If you're on self-improvement, then the biggest problem you're going to face throughout your life is how to balance discipline and playfulness. Because too much discipline will turn you into a miserable workaholic, shunning social invitations and opportunities for happiness in pursuit of doing your breath work. But too much playfulness will turn you into nothing more than a frolicking hippie content with smelling of BO and sleeping with anything that breathes and never feeling the pursuit towards excellence and progress in your life. What you're after is a harmonious balance between the two, so you can enjoy the thrilling rush of progress and focus that discipline offers, whilst adventurously exploring life without always wanting to strive for an outcome. This is a problem I've struggled with for the past 6 years of my life, and I've realised that most men I speak to experience the exact same issue. First of all, let's outline what we actually mean by discipline and playfulness. Discipline is a love affair with progress. It's staying resolute and consistent with your actions in pursuit of a larger goal. To cite the mantra of discipline, hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life. But taken too far, discipline will start to have diminishing returns on your life satisfaction. Why? Because the act of discipline involves you getting your head down, putting your nose to the grindstone and going all in the pursuit of progress. Sometimes discipline requires the foregoing of emotions so you can adopt a serious approach to the task at hand. I've termed the diminishing effect of discipline trench fever. To elaborate, I've realised around 5 months ago there was a common theme amongst myself and my masculine friends where we'd be feeling the riveting joys of discipline and progress in our life, but if we didn't have anything to counterbalance our discipline, we'd become a pain to socialise with, we would start to hate ourselves, and in general our mental health would suffer. Not to mention, this trench fever actually caused us to self-sabotage sometimes because we just wanted a release from being disciplined all of the time. So trench fever occurs when you start to develop a negative relationship with yourself by being too disciplined. Instead of being your own best friend, you become your own drill sergeant. Because with just discipline, there's always more you can do, achieve and strive for. So you need something to counterbalance it. And that counterbalancing force is playfulness. But what is playfulness? So in this... Hey. What? Quick question. What? Why has the room changed? Well, in case you didn't notice, I had a huge obsolete double bed next to my skull every day that needed to go. What? No. I like it. More room to, Don't. I won't. Don't worry. Excuse me. Not while I'm filming. Well, they're your hands. Playfulness is any activity performed in a state of rapture without any thought of reward. Playfulness involves doing anything with a light-hearted approach, which can cut through the tension that discipline often creates. Being playful could be you doing something creative, dancing with a girl, dancing by yourself, skipping through the woods naked. Why do I always give that as an example? Laughing in conversation, or simply living life with a cheeky grin on your face because you've spiritually awakened to the silliness of everything. The revitalising power of playfulness comes from non-grasping. To elaborate, usually when we act with discipline, we're doing so because we're striving for something. A better life, more knowledge, financial success, or a better physique. But when we act with playfulness, we operate from a place of abundance where nothing feels lacking. We don't hanker for the present moment to be different than what it is, therefore our tension dissolves with our expectations of how things should be. For example, approaching a girl because you have the ulterior motive of sleeping with her or making her your wife is tension. But playfulness is approaching a girl just to tell her that you think she's beautiful and then walking off. Being invited to dance with a girl but being nervous because you don't know how to dance salsa or you're worried you'll make a fool of yourself is tension. Playfulness is accepting the invitation to dance with a cheeky grin on your face, knowing that you will make a fool of yourself and you don't want to be the best dancer in the world, but you'd rather be making a fool of yourself than sitting on a bench alone. But, taken too far, playfulness can litter your life with unstructured chaos, bad habits and excessive hedonic indulgence. Without the counterbalance of discipline, the merely playful will come across as immature, childish and directionless in life. The 30-year-old man who's intent on spending all of his waking hours playing video games is an embodiment of the just playful person. Although he might feel in rapture when he's playing his video games and as if he's allowing himself to escape from the cruel cold world without earning the right to be playful through acting with discipline, he'll be found wanting when life actually decides to test him and his lack of self-discipline. So now let's look at the practical steps we can use in order to achieve this harmony. Some might scoff at the idea of a routine and say, oh, it's boring, it's unnecessary, it's monotonous, doing the same thing every day. Who would want to do that? But in my experience, such comments are only made by people who have never felt the effects of stillness and riveting progress that a solid, reliable routine provides. So in our first step towards balancing discipline and playfulness, you must develop your routine of excellence so you can create a sanctified, ritualistic, holy routine that you turn up to and honour each day. So you can do the work and the work can work upon you. The Japanese author Haruki Murakami explains why he does the same routine every single day. He says, the repetition itself becomes the most important thing. It's a form of mesmerism. Each day I mesmerise myself into a deeper state of mind. It's only through routine that our bodies can tune into the state of flow and our minds can be free creatively. The perfect analogy here is Japanese flower arrangers. Now you won't find them frantically grasping to do all of the work that they've left undone at 3 o'clock in the morning because they have to meet a deadline. They'll be doing it at the same time every single day, and you won't see them idly chatting on the phone whilst they're doing their work. One of the biggest troubles we struggle with throughout life is uncertainty. If you feel lost or you feel a little bit chaotic in life, a routine will give you the certainty you crave in an uncertain world. However, taking this idea to its extreme, you might then convince yourself every single minute of every day needs to be mapped out and scheduled. But this is precisely where the lines between discipline and playfulness begin to get blurred. So if there is one tip I want you to take away from this whole video, it is literally this. Schedule time for discipline, but flexibly, or not at all, schedule time for playfulness. First of all, take all of the habits you do every day which require discipline, and then figure out your minimum daily requirement. My daily non-negotiables and dailies are 60 minutes of writing, 30 minutes of reading, 30 minutes of practicing Spanish, and then 1 solid workout and nutritional eating throughout the day. That's it. They're my daily non-negotiables which I focus on every single day with discipline. Everything else that I do within my time outside of those pursuits and habits is an extra, is bonus. Because if I wasn't doing this and if I didn't have a solid routine, I wouldn't be feeling progress within my life. And when I'm not feeling like I'm progressing towards something, it takes a toll on my mental health and general well-being. If I didn't have a routine or structure, I'd just be walking around picking my nose, wondering what to do with my time. But perhaps after all of this, there's one more question on your mind. How do I know how much time to spend on each habit? Well, I'm glad you asked. So before we cover how we can include playfulness in this idea of routine and structure, let's cover how long you should work on the habits which you've put into your routine of excellence. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got from Jordan Peterson was when I was around 18 years old, and he said, when you're young, see how hard you can work and then come back. What this means is twofold. First, in order to create your routine of excellence, you first need to test the limits of your discipline and see how much you can handle. For instance, let's say your current habits are you work out every day, you read, and you work on your side hustle. First of all, think about how long you currently spend on doing those things. Let's say you read for 30 minutes a day, you work on your side project for 1 hour, and you do a 30-minute workout. Test yourself. Can you read for 2 hours a day? Can you work for 5 hours on your side project as well as other things you're doing in your life and other commitments? Can you work out for 2 hours? The key is to push past your limits, because you don't know what you're capable of until you actually try it. You might realise that you're more than capable to do all of those things, but in the long term, it's not sustainable. So you come back. And what do you realise? Perhaps you realise that you can read an hour a day. You can work on your side project for 2 hours every single day, and that's sustainable. You can do a 1 hour workout and that pushes your limit, but you can do it every single day for the rest of your life. So now we've covered how to push the boat out and test your discipline so you can come back. Let's have a look at how we can instill playfulness into this routine of excellence. That quote is what I call the Churchill principle, and it's been crucial in my journey of balancing discipline and playfulness. I'm not married, nor do I have a girlfriend. Lads, watch out. Ladies, watch out. So I don't interpret this quote just from a romantic lens, but I see it from the lens of all social relationships and events. The Churchill principle implies one thing. You do your disciplined pursuits in the morning, and then you are free for the rest of the day to playfully socialise and do whatever you want which you've deemed as playful. Like we discovered at the beginning, you have to earn the right to be playful. You've got to turn up the discipline dial in the morning and then turn it down in order to turn up the playfulness dial. Because in my experience, I'm not at my best socially when I haven't acted with discipline before I've been playful. When I don't respect the Churchill principle and own the morning by doing my disciplined pursuits, I'm not present in conversation with other people because I'm confronted with all of the thoughts and open loops in my mind of all of the things I haven't done which require discipline that I still need to do. So through this lens, being disciplined improves your social skills because no one likes to talk to someone and interact with someone who isn't present. So if you aren't present because you're confronted with open loops of things you haven't done that day, you need to be disciplined and then you can return to playfulness. Lastly, it's easy to shun social invitations in order to turn up the discipline dial. But in my experience and speaking to other men who struggle to balance discipline and playfulness, this shunning of social invitations is exactly what contributes to an imbalance of discipline and playfulness. So this is the last thing we're going to cover. There's a modern term you might think of when you hear the word discipline, coined to comfort all of the lone wolves out there: monk mode. Just in case you don't know, monk mode is a trend where people retreat from their social commitments and bad habits in order to go into a period of isolation where they can focus on themselves. For the last 5 months, I was in monk mode, and not everything is as pretty as it seems. So here's my testimony. 6 months ago, I was living in a lovely apartment in Bristol with my cousin. I had a good job and a brilliant social life. Life was good. But then I started to make quick progress on my YouTube channel and I realised I want to make content for the rest of my life. I'd finally found my purpose. So I quit my job, left my flat and temporarily moved into my mum's house, which is in a place called Kent, which is like 3 hours from Bristol. I called my friends probably once a week. I hardly socialised with anyone face to face other than my family, and I was working around 10, 11 hours a day whilst working out and planning my future. Overall, monk mode brought me the most progress I've ever seen in my life, from the standpoint of YouTube and fitness. But to say there were some lonely nights and moments of despair would be an understatement. Around a month ago, 5 months into monk mode, I noticed a sign. I was walking up an alley just close to my house on a routine afternoon walk and a stranger was walking towards me. If you don't know, the custom in the UK is to say hello or how are you to pretty much every stranger you walk past. So, while I was walking down this path, this stranger was probably 50 feet away from me, so we're walking towards each other. I'm getting ready in my mind, trying to distract myself by looking at other things and pretending I'm not looking straight towards them and thinking, how am I going to say hello to this person? I see a tree and I think, yes, Lewis, occupy yourself by looking at the tree. Yeah, that's fine. And the social awkwardness is just rising as this stranger is walking towards me. They get closer and closer. The time comes for me to say, oh yeah. And then I walk straight past them and instantly breathe a sigh of relief. It was nerve-wracking. I hadn't felt that socially anxious since I was 17, so I thought monk mode needs to end. Because isolation is disastrous for your social skills. And it just so happens the best way to instill playfulness throughout your life is through social connection. Because I know this is exactly what a lot of men struggle with when they say they're struggling to balance discipline and playfulness. A lot of the time what they're talking about is they're struggling to balance their isolated discipline pursuits with more light-hearted social inclusion. Unless you're a psychopath, most of your social interactions involve treating people as an ends rather than a means to an end. Hence, socialising is a playful activity which involves non-grasping. Because if you socialise with people and you have an ulterior motive throughout your interaction, you'll exude your ulterior motive in your actions and intentions, and your socialising will come across as a clunky awkwardness. However, socialising with people in a state of playfulness after we've been disciplined allows us to tease, flirt, smile, dance and cry with them. Additionally, other people can snap us out of our discipline pursuits in a very unexpected and hilarious way. Because everyone else is so preoccupied with their problems and the things going on in their lives, they're likely not to care much about your disciplined pursuits. No matter how sad that might make you feel or how much recognition you want for your discipline, because most people won't care, that gives you respite from needing to talk about it and mention it all of the time. Hence, it is the mark of the playfully disciplined person who is initially respected the Churchill principle early during the day, acted with discipline, and then can come out into a state of playfulness in which he treats those who he is socializing with in a calm, light-hearted, non-grasping manner where he gazes playfully and lovingly into the eyes of those he is socializing with. I'm starting to sound like a poet again. Lastly, in Hinduism, people are seen as condensed forms of prana, which means life energy. And when we respect this manifestation of prana on the physical level, we can then pass on to the next stage of our spiritual development. So in this lens, rejecting the social world blocks our spiritual growth. So in the same way as you need to understand your daily minimum requirements for discipline, you also need to understand your weekly minimum requirements for socializing. Perhaps one evening a week spent with a close friend is enough. One salsa class every Friday is more than enough playfulness you need for the week. Finally, make sure your playfulness does not hinder your ability to act with discipline the next day. So, to summarise, discipline is a love affair with progress and the art of staying consistent in pursuit of a larger goal. Playfulness is anything performed in a state of rapture without any thought of getting a reward. It involves a light approach to life which slices through the tension discipline sometimes creates. Discipline involves acting to see progress towards an outcome. Playfulness involves acting with a light-hearted, non-grasping approach where you aren't bothered about seeing an outcome. To balance discipline and playfulness, first create a routine for your daily non-negotiable acts of discipline, push your limits, then come back from there. Respect the Churchill principle, prioritize discipline before playfulness, not the other way around, earn your playfulness. See people as condensed forms of life energy and outlet your playfulness through flirting, teasing, socializing and loving. Make sure your act of playfulness does not hinder your ability to be disciplined for the next day. Join the newsletter in the description. See you soon. Cheers, boys and girls.